What's going on? Season 3.
Hey,
we here, y'all.
3 seasons already?
3 seasons.
Man.
And 3 is my favorite number.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
3 is
It's
my
the magic
favorite
number.
So yes, it's a new podcast season. It's a new season in the year.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's also Earth Day.
Yes. Happy Earth Day.
Yes, happy Earth Day to all. Shout out to all of the environmentalists out there. A couple that we had on the show.
Yes.
Dr. Wakeela Boston, Dr. Mildred McLean.
Yes.
Connie Tucker, rest in peace.
Yes.
And so many more. I always hate when I start calling names.
Right.
I'm like,
You're gonna forget somebody.
Do that.
You're going to forget
So
somebody.
charge it to the game and not the heart for all the names that we did not call.
Right.
Welcome, Black.
Welcome, Black. You are listening to the Seedz of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind podcast,
where we discuss legacy, history, resistance, and forward movement.
The revolution is live.
All right, and we're back.
We're black.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Asantewa Sunni-Ali.
I am Aiyisha T. Obafemi.
And I am Princess Mdaiyah Yisrael.
And we are Daughters of the
Whirlwind. So this season, we are talking about living in the flow. That's the theme of our season. And so today we're talking about living in the flow of seasons and seasons changing and how we respond to, the changing seasons and spring. Yeah. Spring coming. I think I said seasons because I was saying spring seasons. Springtime.
Yes.
All right. So, spring season.
Yeah.
What is spring?
Spring 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? 2024. I was telling somebody recently how when I was younger, I used to say like, "Oh, in 2024, I'll be, this age." And now we're here.
She did.
Yeah, you remember? Y'all
Yeah,
remember?
we remember.
And now we're here. We're in the 2020s.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
spring.
you should start saying in 2060.
Oh, I do that. I just don't say it out loud. I say it in my head for sure. You know what I do it with? I do it with my children's ages. I'm like, when they're 15, when they're 18, when they're 20.
And what year is that? And
Yeah. And then I stop because I'm like, let me.
Yeah, I used to do it.
Because it gets
but not
real.
anymore. Look, not anymore.
Yeah. Because
The twins are 26 now. So
yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of just let it be
Because
and
I'm
let
like
it flow.
at my mark, like when Kafani's 25, I'm 50. That's it. That's the count.
Okay. That's it. You
She
don't
said that's
include
it.
no other children.
No, I'm saying
She's like, I got 5
That's it.
children, but
that's my halfway point.
oh,
It was born on my 25th birthday.
I
Yes,
see.
Yeah,
We know.
But spring. I was telling somebody how spring, we always knew in the house when it was spring because you wake up to Stevie Wonder on the record player.
Oh, yeah.
And you knew that what
Springtime.
time is it? Spring
never
cleaning.
dreamed you leave in summer. There's
But
so
it's
many.
spring cleaning.
Yeah.
Like, I said, y'all don't know nothing about washing baseboards and windowsills and
Right.
ceiling fans.
And blinds.
And blinds.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was so
Remember we used
tedious.
to take that. Mommy used to have us
So
take down the
tedious.
blinds.
Put it in the tub.
Put it in the tub and then
Clean it.
wipe it. But you had to be gentle.
Yeah.
You had to be
Yeah,
gentle.
don't bend it,
breaking
don't
no
break it.
Don't bend
Yeah.
it, don't break.
Right.
Yes.
You wasn't doing none
But
of
the
that.
baseboards though.
Yeah.
Tedious.
I be looking at baseboards at home.
No,
I'm
and
like,
remember,
I'm
we
not-
didn't, Mommy and them, they didn't believe in getting us a vacuum, so.
Oh yeah, we had to sweep floors
With the spray
We had to spray water on the floor because it
On the
helps to get
rug,
the
yeah.
lint up.
Exactly.
I mean, at least
I
Mommy
told somebody
knew.
that, they was like, what? I was like, yeah, and we had a washboard.
We definitely had a washboard.
Probably essential.
She
So
was
spring was
she was
like-
equipping us.
Yeah.
So that we knew how to do it.
And we knew what to do.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So in honor of spring cleaning, I guess if we can speak in a metaphorical sense, what is something that you are kind of saying goodbye to in this season? And it could be this season like of the year or this season in your life. Like what are you saying goodbye to? And
So many things.
yeah.
Saying goodbye to the bullshit.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye
BS.
bullshit.
And along with that comes the people who
bring the bull.
The bullshitters.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's always a time to get rid of the people.
Oh yeah, always.
I find that happening. More and more and more.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with it.
More
I'm
and
good.
more.
I'm good. Wow. And then of course, trying to declutter and going through the clothes right now. I'm doing that.
That's a job,
and that is a job.
Yes. I'm like, can I hire? Well, actually, there are folks that do it. That you can hire.
I know people who have had people come and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just takes some. I think when someone else comes and helps,
it helps.
Because I think we all have attachments to the stuff.
We do. And they ask you questions. Because they say, what is it? If you don't wear something in a year, they say to get rid of it.
Yeah, let it go.
Or does it inspire you?
Yeah.
Right.
Or I saw something recently that said if you have something in your closet, look at it and say, would I buy that again? Right now.
Right.
If I saw this hanging at a store, would I buy it?
Right.
And there's a lot of things that you wear for a certain amount of time. I've got rid of stuff. I was like, okay, I'm finished with that.
I feel like you've been good at that.
I'm finished with that.
I make excuses. I make so many excuses. I'm like, I'm going to wear this.
Come get it.
I will pack stuff up and give it away too. Because I've had to kind of downsize anyway because how we moving. And then this year for me, spring cleaning was really good anyway because it came right at our holy day season, which is Pesach and Kagmatzo, which is where we have to get rid of all the leavening in our house anyway. And it's like a deep cleaning. You got to clean your beds, under your beds, under your couch, get all the crumbs and stuff out. And then you got to clean all your cabinets, everything. So I clean everything anyway. Yeah. And then I usually wash every piece of whatever I have in my house that I'm using. And so that's like the natural spring cleaning for us anyway. And it always comes in the spring anyway because that represents our new year. Right. So for me, it's and as Aiyisha said, dropping the BS and the BSers and just all the other stuff that you really don't need in your life. Decluttering doesn't just mean the physical, right? The emotional, the financial things that you don't need to be continuously doing, right?
All those things you have on auto pay
stuff,
right?
I do that. I go through my.
I saw something the other day. I was like, what's this?
Yeah. When did I do that? Yeah. So it's
they have apps for that too that people can.
Yeah. So I've been diligently.
There's an app for that.
Right.
There's an app for everything.
There's an app for everything.
Yeah, there really is.
Everything.
Yeah. So it's deep how spring cleaning comes, and it takes different cycles in your life.
But I would encourage people. I would encourage the listeners, our listeners, if you do have a lot of things in your house, and call some people who do the decluttering.
Yeah, if you need help.
And help. They come and help you do these things. My best friend Stephanie in Mississippi, she called and had these ladies come out.
Oh, I thought you were going to say she does it. I was about to say,
I know we would have her come up, but these ladies came. And
and they did it.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, we might need to do that for our brother.
If you want to give it as a gift to others. Spring cleaning.
It can be for you and your family.
People.
Because I think as a family, we it's a thing. We clutter. We hold on to things.
I have a lot of things.
We have to.
Yeah, I do have a lot of things, and like I said, I'm learning how to part with stuff. More and more. As I get older, and then having children too, because they have stuff,
right?
And so I find that it's easy for me. Even, spring cleaning, but usually every season I'll go into their rooms and I'll, clean out the older clothes and, just things that they aren't necessarily using anymore. I still need to do another, a haul, for spring. But I agree with y'all. Definitely the closets, with all the stuff,
even pictures. I have a lot of pictures now.
I do have a lot of pictures.
I had a lot, but you can kind of Burns pictures.
You can organize. So I think spring cleaning and organizing. Because the things that you are deciding to hold on to,
organize it.
Yeah, just organize it or kind of repurpose it in a way. Yeah. Because I found that I had all of these pictures and I went and bought frames.
Well,
I went and bought frames.
I have too
and I'm
many.
I'm going to put these on the walls. And I ended up getting I don't know, like 35 frames. Ooh. But it's nice. I did a whole picture wall, you know, and the children love it. They look at it every day and they're like, oh, that's when I was 2. And that's when I was, you know.
I want to go back to collages. Aunt Laverne used to have the collage ones that you can get from like Michael's or
with
what's
the
that other?
Each frame.
I don't know.
Not
Hobby Lobby.
No, not Hobby. It was
it's an old school.
It's another one that I'm thinking about.
She said Aunt Laverne.
Oh yeah.
No, I didn't say she went to that place, but I was thinking of places here. But she used to have those type of frames. In her house. Nice. Because we have like different size photos. Yeah.
Right.
You want to mix it and match it, you know.
Yeah.
So
well, I guess I don't have older photos because you're talking about like the little 4x6 and stuff like that.
I have a lot of the older photos.
Okay. Because most of my family pictures that I have now, like my immediate family pictures, are all like 10x13 or 8x10. Yeah. So doing a collage with those. Even though I tried some things on the wall and it didn't work out, so I was like, let me just do the frames. But I totally agree with y'all about just getting rid of all the things that don't serve you. You know, habits also. So yes, certainly saying goodbye to like stagnant energy.
Yes.
You know, in the spring and making room for all the newness that's to come. Yeah, there's so much waiting for us, and we hold on, and we end up blocking blessings and energy and, you know, flows that are supposed to come in. So switching gears a little bit here, in addition to Earth Day and all things spring, April is also a month dedicated to raising awareness about sexual assault and sexual assault prevention. And so before moving on in our conversation, I want to mention that some of the information shared during our upcoming segment may be triggering. So please feel free to skip ahead if you'd like and take care of yourself as needed. So to lead us in raising awareness about sexual assault and sexual prevention is today's special guest and also our revolutionary of the week, Dr.Jo Wakeela Boston Jones. Yay! Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes. I just have to do this introduction because I think that what you all are doing is so relevant to our community. So I have to say thank you, Aiyisha the Blessed, Princess Mdaiyah, and Dr. Sunni-Ali for inviting me to share my content with you and the audience of the Daughters of the Whirlwind.
All right.
And I'm so proud of you all. So proud of you all. And I know that your mom is proud of you too for continuing her legacy. So again, thank you.
Ashe. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie.
Thank you, Auntie.
So, you're welcome.
So I want to share with our listening audience just a little bit about who Dr. Boston Jones is.
Okay.
So Dr. Boston Jones has several letters behind her name. And I was just going to rattle off a few of them. RN, BSN, MBA, HES, DHED. Right? And hopefully we can learn about what some of those mean. But another special title that she holds is the title of our aunt. She's our blood aunt. She's our mother's younger sister. And we're proud, you know, of being your nieces, of being your family. So just as proud as you are, you know, we're proud of you, and we're so thankful that you have joined us today. So a little bit about Dr. Boston Jones. She currently serves as a change agent for long-term care facilities in need throughout the U.S. Her expertise is infection control, risk management, and identifying areas of improvement. Importantly, her position involves maintaining employee morale and securing employee buy-in to change. Additionally, Dr. Boston Jones concurs with sexual violence experts who indicate sexual violence is a worldwide public health crisis. No one group in society is immune. In her role as a certified Opus Peace educator, Dr. Jones has developed and currently presents a 4-part webinar series on soul injury and sexual violence entitled My Vagina's Story is a Soul Injury. Her goal is to bring continued awareness to this oftentimes minimized crime and crisis, the toll takes on its survivors, and the soul injuries it exacts. Dr. Jones herself is a sexual violence survivor. She believes sexual violence is a hidden, unheard, and silenced worldwide public health crisis. Her vision is a world without sexual violence. Dr. Jones lends her powerful voice, her story, and presence to providing sexual violence awareness education to communities throughout the United States. She is inspired daily by the many survivors of sexual violence and wishes to communicate to silent survivors, it is not your fault. Dr. Jones is a lifelong learner and a fan of anything tennis. In her free time, she enjoys crocheting and spending time with her grandchildren. So again, a warm welcome to Dr. Boston Jones.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you again. So where to begin? Sexual violence, as you mentioned in my bio, is such a silent crime. But we're going to be doing some really straight talk here, because you can't sugarcoat the subject of sexual violence and rape. And as you mentioned, I am a survivor of not just one, but 4 sexual assaults by 4 different men throughout my lifetime. Mm-hmm. And my goal is that we bring this crime out into the open, that we begin to talk about it like we talk about, I don't know, how about diabetes or mental health? That we're not afraid to say the words sexual violence and rape. I want to give you some definitions, something that we probably never thought about. The definition of sexual violence. It's an all-encompassing term for unwanted sexual contact. It's the umbrella, if you will, of which all the other unwanted sexual acts come under, like rape. The penetration of the vagina, the rectum, or the mouth with any body part or object without consent. In childhood sexual violence, it's intercourse, attempted intercourse, oral genital contact, fondling of genitals directly or through clothing, exhibitionism, or exposing children to adult sexual activity. So, with those thoughts in mind, with those definitions in mind, how does sexual violence relate to living in the flow? Mm-hmm. Well, we all have different perspectives of what living in the flow means, right? Mm-hmm. For me, it means living our lives in a way that we've never lived it before. It means living in this existence where we're honoring ourselves and becoming the best version of ourselves that we've ever been. And it's not a version that can be defined or perceived by others. It's our best version. Mm-hmm. And we want to attain living in that flow in a peaceful manner, in a whole manner. And instead of existing in these scattered pieces of ourselves, we're so busy doing this and doing that and wanting to impress this person and impress that person. But we're not impressing ourselves. We're not becoming the whole peaceful version of ourselves that we can be. So living in this flow, it correlates really splendidly with soul injury and sexual violence, because sexual violence survivors are not living in the flow. We strive to throughout our journey toward healing, but we're not living in our flow. It's where we want to be. We want to be at peace with ourselves and at peace with our soul injuries. Does that make sense?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I mentioned the word soul injury, right? Mm-hmm. So what is it? Well, it's a term that was coined by 5 nurses who live in Florida. And they opened up a nonprofit organization called Opus Peace. And they coined the soul injury because they had come across so many people that had this deep hurt within themselves. And they couldn't describe it. So they described it as a soul injury. And it's a penetrating wound that separates you from your real self. It's an aching wound, and that's perpetrated by unmourned loss. When you're raped, there's a loss that happens. You lose your sense of security. You lose your sense of of beauty. You lose your sense of being whole. So you haven't mourned those losses. And then it's also perpetrated by unforgiven guilt and shame. When women, even men, when we're raped, when we're assaulted, there are things that go through our minds. We're thinking that if I haven't been there, if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't said that or just a different way, then maybe it wouldn't have happened. And what we don't understand is that rape is not something we did. It's something the perpetrator did. It's something that what a lot of people don't understand is that it's planned out. It's usually not something that's a spur of the moment. And if it weren't you, it would be somebody else. Mm-hmm. And then there's diminished self-compassion. We don't forgive ourselves for things we thought we should have done or should not have done. So that's what a soul injury is. And it doesn't occur just after sexual violence. It can occur with any traumatic event, maybe a car accident, or maybe you lost a limb or life. It occurs with the death of a loved one. You are so, You're so down that you can't think. You can't. You feel like you don't want to go on living. Right. That's your soul injury. It can occur after a natural disaster. If you were in a hurricane or a flood, or you were involved in a fire, you can develop a soul injury. But we're going to talk about soul injury as it relates to sexual violence today. One of the things that happens with survivors of sexual violence, and it happened with me too, is that, like I said earlier, we're always thinking about the what ifs. What if I hadn't done this? Or what if I had done this? What if I weren't wearing the short dress or the short shorts that I was wearing? What if I hadn't sent my child to this place or that place? We're always thinking about those what ifs. And that's the major source of our soul injuries, the what ifs. Now, we know they're all ages, races, all religions, and people of all physical appearances are raped. We mentioned that it was a silent crime. We mentioned that we don't want to talk about it. We think that since it occurred and that it's over with, that survivors can go on with their lives because they might look normal to you. Their outward appearance hasn't changed. We know that's not the case, though, because survivors are not living in their flow. I want to give you some statistics about sexual violence and rape. And because we don't talk about it, where it's almost a crime of shame. We don't know. I mentioned that rape is not about sex. It's not about pleasure. It's an act of violence. It's an act of power and control. And it's motivated out of anger and the feeling. The perpetrator wants to feel powerful. They want to control you. They want to dominate you. Or they want to humiliate the survivors. And survivors have to understand that they are not responsible for causing their assault. It's the offender who's to blame. Right. What I would say is that 1 in 2 women in the United States experience some type of sexual violence in their lifetime, whether it's rape, inappropriate touching, and I hate that word, inappropriate touching. I'll tell you why in a minute. Whether it's receiving messages from text or in your emails. And surprisingly, 1 in 3 men experience sexual violence in their lifetime. Now, the reason I don't like that word inappropriate touching is because for instance, for those of you who have dreads out there, if someone comes and touches your dreads and say, "Oh, those are nice," that's inappropriate touching. If someone touches you on the shoulder that you don't know, or gives you a hug that you don't know, that's inappropriate touching. Now, when I say inappropriate touching, again, I don't use that that phrase very much, but I want people to specifically know that somebody touched my vagina, somebody touched my buttocks, somebody touched my breasts, and I didn't give them permission. And those types of that type of verbiage, we don't want to say. We don't want to say that out loud. We don't want to say that boys have penises instead of willies, or that boys have testicles instead of acorns or balls. We don't want to hear that because it's not. These are not words that you use in polite society. But we got to get used to it because think of what I just said: 1 in 2 women and 1 in 3 men. And rape is the fastest growing violent crime in the United States. And you know why that is? It's because we don't say anything. And all the statistics that we have on rape and sexual violence, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Because we don't report it. Women are raped. One woman is raped every 6 minutes in the United States. And these are just crimes in the United States, not across the world, around the world. Right. And not surprisingly, the rate of sexual assault in the United States is the highest of any industrialized world.
Scary.
And for those of you...
Very.
Say again.
So that's very scary.
It is scary.
And to
we are. Go ahead.
I was saying, and to think that it's just the United States, and so when we think about, global numbers, I mean, where are we? If it's every 6 minutes here,
every 6 minutes. And for those of you who have girls and sisters and brothers in high school, listen to this stat: 1 out of 3 high school relationships include battering or rape. So when your daughter comes home or your son comes home from a date and you ask them how'd that date go, and they say, oh, it went okay. Dig deeper. Dig deeper. Most sexual assaults, occur before the age of 18. And if it's occurred before the age of 18, you can almost bet that person will be sexually assaulted again. Couple other stats. 92,000 men are forcibly raped every year in the United States. Who knew?
Wow.
Who would even think that? And it's because our men think that to be raped means that they're gay, that they asked for it. They feel as though they're supposed to be strong enough to prevent this from happening. But if a man is approached by 5 or 6 different men, how in the world can they resist? Can they defend themselves? It's almost impossible. When I was doing the stats for my webinars, the stat that really stood out for me was that most rapes are committed by people we know. There are grandparents, grandfathers, there are uncles, there are neighbors, there are friends, there are brothers, there are nephews. They're committed by people we know. And the reason for that is that we remain silent. We don't want to tell. We don't want to tell because we don't want to get in trouble. We don't want to get the loved one in trouble because they might go to jail. They might lose their job. Their family members might, the families might split up. There's a whole conundrum, if you will, around this crime of rape and sexual assault. It just doesn't affect this one person who was raped and the perpetrator. It affects our family members. It affects our neighborhood.
Yeah, it destroys whole families.
The other thing, most importantly, is that we don't tell, and these perpetrators, they're free to continue to stalk people. Right. They continue to be free to groom young children and their families, and they continue to affect the lives of the survivors.
True.
So what I say to people is that if someone says to you, so-and-so raped you, or so-and-so touched you, believe them. And don't blame them. Don't say things like, oh, where were you? Why were you there? Right. Don't put blame on the victim. Because when I say we, women, basically, we have a right to be wherever we want to be. We have a right to wear whatever we want to wear. So don't blame the victim. Another thing about rape is that I told you earlier that we're not the same. We're not the same after the rape as we were before the rape. Our whole world has been turned upside down. And because of this, we may turn to what's called numbing agents. Things like overeating to make ourselves look unattractive, the use of alcohol, the use of tobacco, the use of drugs, so that we can numb out those feelings and those memories. And then, importantly, there are suicide attempts, and there are successful suicides. So if someone comes to you and says, hey, someone touched me, someone raped me, be there for them. Ask them questions like, how can I help you? Say things like, I am so sorry this happened to you. What can I do? Because survivors, they'll develop this sense of loneliness and isolation. They become hopeless. They may develop mental illnesses like PTSD and depression. They have developed insomnia. And there are physical health problems that can develop as well, like heart disease. And once you develop heart disease, you develop problems with circulation. And then you have problems with your kidneys. And then you have problems with diabetes. There's a whole host of things that can happen with a survivor of rape. One of the biggest things is those recurring vivid nightmares and memories. They just can't get those out of their head. And I'm here to tell you, as a survivor of 4 different rapes in my lifetime, they will never, ever go away. You're in this state of hyperarousal, meaning that you're always looking over your shoulder. You're always wondering or expecting something bad to happen. And we're always looking for the boogeyman. There's always something there. One of the things I said that I talked about encouraging, being there for your friend or your family member. Remember, tell them it's not their fault, and encourage counseling or encourage them to talk to somebody, whether it be the imam, your priest, you. But one of the first steps toward healing is talking about what happened. Now, I'm not talking in detail, but I'm just saying that, hey, yes, it happened to me. That's one of the good things that I like about the #MeToo movement, is that they do encourage you to, if you will, out your attacker. And many perpetrators, many attackers feel as though, oh, she's not going to say anything because if she says something that's going to ruin her reputation. No, it's not. Be brave in that moment when you think, okay, I'm going to say something to someone. Go ahead and say it. I I know I've been spouting out the mouth here.
Yes. I mean, we've been soaking it all up.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I've been in class, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. You shared so many nuggets. You know, I began to even take some notes about a couple of things. But
when I talk to people, I just all this knowledge comes out, and I wanted to educate people. I want to put thoughts in their heads. I want them to go away from me thinking about, maybe that's what happened to sister so-and-so. Or maybe that's what happened to brother so-and-so. Because we can't forget our brothers.
Right.
We cannot forget our brothers.
Or maybe that's what happened to me, you know, because oftentimes folks don't know, you know, so I'm glad that you shared the definitions of sexual assault. Because oftentimes folks don't know until they go into a therapy session or until they say something out loud to someone else. And then they're like, okay, I kind of swept that under the rug, or I thought that was a little, it made me feel uncomfortable. Right.
People completely blocked.
Yeah. What made me feel uncomfortable, but I never knew that it was actual sexual assault.
I'll tell you a story. I was speaking with a loved one about a case where the stepfather, a little girl, and her brother spent the night at a stepfather's house. The little boy was fully full blood to the stepfather, and the little girl, it was her stepfather. But anyways, she spent the night at her stepfather's house, and she went missing. Didn't find her for 4 years, and eventually they did find her. They knew all along that the stepfather was the major suspect. Yeah. So, and they did eventually convict him. He did get life in prison without the possibility of parole. But I was telling the story to a loved one, and the loved one said to me, well, if she was being sexually abused, why does she want to go over to his house? And I had to rein my thoughts in. This was a little 10-year-old girl. I had to rein my thoughts in. Take a deep breath and say, it's not about that.
Right.
When young children are raped or violated, it's usually by someone they know. It's someone they love and trust. And like I said earlier, they're afraid to tell. They're afraid that that they themselves will get hurt. Some perpetrators, they're very cunning. They play these thought games.
Yeah.
If you tell, if you tell, I'm going to hurt your family. If you tell, I'm going to hurt your pet. So they play these thought games with these kids. So you can't come up with these sentences. Well, why did she go over there?
Blame game.
No. So that just know that healing from sexual violence, it can be attained. Sometimes it takes, some people jump back from it pretty quickly, or so they think.
Right.
But some people, it may take a lifetime. I have to tell you, for me, it took like 60 years. I mean, I wasn't talking about this to anyone 6 years ago.
Right.
I wasn't mentioning that I was raped. I wasn't even calling it a rape. I was calling it the incidents. So, and then some people may never, ever heal from the trauma of sexual violence. But it's our job to help them live in the best flow that they can.
Absolutely. And I love that you talked about that it takes a long time because, you know, even out in, you know, popular culture right now, you know, you don't have to name any names, but we know that, certain folks are being called out, for sexual violence and assault. And oftentimes there's a lot of victim blaming, and there's a lot of, people are concerned with timelines, and lengths of time. And as you're saying, a soul injury, it may not be felt immediately. It may be felt,
20 years.
Yeah, however, right? Or and then there's so many other factors, and it's so complicated. So I'm happy that you spoke to all of those different factors. Yeah.
And thank you for sharing, Auntie, because although, you have made this, part of your life's work and getting this information out, I know that it has to still be difficult for you to do it each time that you're doing it, because you're reliving what happened to you more than once, what happened to you more than twice, what happened to you more than 3 times. So, you
are very welcome. I do have to say that you're right. You never. It gets. I don't know if I want to use the word easier, but I can talk about it more smoothly, if you will.
Yes.
When I first started talking about this, I was talking about a rape that occurred in my teens. And then the more I spoke about it, it was like, oh my God, this occurred when I was a baby. One of the things that I talk about in my webinar, and I'll tell you about that in a few minutes, is that your story of sexual assault doesn't come to you as a beginning, a middle, and an end. It comes to you in bits and pieces. Like you may think, oh, I got this all down. I know what happened. 10 years later, oh, that's right. That's why I don't like the smell of cigarettes. That's why I don't like the taste of beer. Right. So little bits and pieces will come to you. But I want to give a little dig for my webinar that's coming up on April the 24th at 6 p.m. And it is called it's the first part of my 4-part series of My Vagina Story is a Soul Injury. And during that webinar, we talk more in depth about soul injury and how it affects people who have gone through sexual violence and their aftermath, what happens to them after the violence. We talk more about childhood sexual violence in that series as well. So it will be held on April 24th at 6 p.m. And if you're interested in attending that webinar, if you contact me at jo, spelled jo.bjones @yahoo.com, I will send you the link to the registration. Again, that's jo.bjones @yahoo.com.
We'll make sure that we'll put that in the description
as well
of our podcast as well for folks. And also on social media. I plan to attend. I'm registered already.
Me too.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Okay.
So thank you so much for all of these nuggets and these jewels. I think that this issue is so important. And as you said, it affects, I was just counting the people in this room.
Everyone.
It affects everyone. But if you think about it, right, when you're in the room, with other people, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it might be you. And when you make it that real, then I think folks take it a bit more seriously. Right. Because oftentimes, like was said, we think, oh, it's the boogeyman, or the boogie woman in the alley, dark, alley late at night. And it's like, no, it's
right next to
right. It's more complicated than that. And it's most often, someone and happening in, a familiar setting, right? Not in a strange setting or, so there's so many, I really look forward to the webinar, and I encourage all of our listeners to register, to learn more, and to raise their own awareness, to raise the awareness of people in their lives, and also to talk about prevention. You know, because oftentimes we focus on, you know, those who are victims or those who are survivors. Let me correct myself. Those who are survivors. But, you know, oftentimes we don't have those conversations, you know, about, hey, are you a perpetrator? I think years ago I posted on social media and I said, if you are a perpetrator, because I said there's something missing here, you know, in this conversation. I think that's when Me Too was really popular. And it's been televised and stuff like that. And I'm all for, you know, I'm all in support of people coming forward and telling their stories. But folks need to be outed as well. Perpetrators need to be outed. Yeah. And if you yourself have been a perpetrator, you know, you need to make amends. You have to make amends, and you need to teach others how not to be perpernatrators.
Right. And I think too, go ahead, Auntie.
That's one of the things that I will talk about in the webinars is what do we do to prevent this?
Yeah.
Well, it's not this sexual violence is not something that happened overnight. It's been happening for centuries and centuries and centuries. But one of the biggest things that we can do is teach our men, our young boys, the difference between unwanted sexual touch and a friendly touch.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to, you know, and Auntie, you know, and you can appreciate what I'm going to say. I had someone say to me, Malika, said to me, thank you for teaching me how to teach my son not to have to speak to people and not to have to hug people. And because she said, you know, the twins, Jamil and Camille, we didn't play that. You don't have to go hug nobody if you don't want to.
Right.
And I told them always, even on your ain't no sitting on no laps, no men's lap, your uncles, you ain't doing none of that.
Anyone's lap.
And then when I would see people doing it, like if I saw, you know, somebody's children doing it, sitting on somebody, I was like, that child shouldn't be sitting on your lap. And I would tell them to get down, because that, you know, there's certain things that happened, you know, and I don't even know if I told y'all. Therefore, I don't know if I told you, Asantewa, about what happened to me.
Oh yeah,
in the car, sitting on a lap, because there was no room.
Yeah, and that's
and I had to tell mommy.
Yeah,
and I told her as soon as I was like, you know, I was like, yeah,
and I commend you for doing that.
And those are the things that, we teach. If we teach those our young men that, by the time that they're older and someone wants to climb up on their lap, you're not having to say, "Don't sit in the lap."
Right.
They're saying, "Oh, sit next to me."
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important. I'm sorry. I think it's important when we see it, like Aiyisha was saying, to put some type of conscious awareness to it, you know, because sometimes people aren't aware of what they're doing, you know, like I just recently we had like an event on our land, and, you know, just watching the young girls and the, you know, young boys interact, and I noticed a couple of the young daughters, they're young, and then we had some of the older young men there. And they were like, wait, they came and said something like that, you know, a couple of those little girls hug us a little too much, and they stopped them. And then I had talked to the women, and we had a conversation with them, because the young girls, they're probably just thinking, oh, you know, we're cool, we know them. But we had to let them know there's you have to be conscious of other people's space. That's one. Even if you're not intentionally trying to harm somebody, you could be making... A man knows when he gets uncomfortable and what can trigger him to be in the state of, you know, turning him on or whatever, because he may not be trying to, but it can happen naturally. So I think it's also, you know, I commend them, the young men, for saying something. And then, you know, for us being able to talk to the young daughters and saying, hey, look, you have to be mindful of your touch, and then be mindful of the space that you're in. Because you don't want to make anybody uncomfortable, nor do you want to be seen as, you know, that you are putting your body onto somebody either. Right. So I think, you know, it's just teaching everybody respect of space and respecting your body, and respecting that you don't have to, like Aiyisha was just saying, you don't have to hug someone every time you see them, or, you know, you don't have to be close to them. You can, I have a rule, especially because I'm married, when I see men, I just put my hand on my chest and kind of do a slight, you know, greeting where they know, because they can come and have their hands out to hug me, and I'm like, do that, and they understand, no, there's a space that needs to be respected here. So, and I think
I really like that as well. That hand on the chest, that this is my space. You can come in, but this is my space. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Auntie, we have a segment called the Power Five. And this segment is a segment where we're going to say a word, phrase, or a question. And we want you to respond with the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Okay. First word. Survivor.
Sexual violence. Hero. I know that's 3 words.
That's okay. This is the first thing that came to your mind. It's okay.
All right. Auntie, my question is, who is your favorite revolutionary?
Oh, that's not hard. That's my daddy.
I knew it.
Gave up everything for us. Taught us, trained us. Yeah, he's my favorite.
Okay. So related to that, the next word is whirlwind.
Why would you say that? You know I'm going to say my sister.
That's why I said related.
My big sister. I mean, she taught me a lot. She taught me that this country that we live in is nothing but a whirlwind. There's no, my sister, Money.
Okay. What is your prayer for the next generation?
My prayer is that we are real to ourselves, that we take off our mask, that we're genuine, and that we love each other.
All right.
Love that.
And then the last question is, a book everyone should read.
Oh, I'm just going to say this, The Spook Who Sat by the Door. You know,
that's not the first time we heard that.
Huh?
I said, that's not the first time we've heard that.
Yeah.
That's a popular one.
Yeah.
I read that book as a child. I must have been about 14. And Auntie Kasima and I were talking about some books that we read. The Elijah demanded that we read, and we said, okay, let's see if we can find this book, The Spook Who Sat by the Door. We found it. It wasn't easy.
Right.
But I listened to it on audio not a couple weeks ago, and it is still relevant today.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes, it is.
Yes.
I got to go listen. I'm going to go listen.
It's a good one.
Find it.
Yeah, that concludes our Power 5. And also that concludes our time with you, Auntie. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For all of the knowledge, all of the sharing. Again, I look forward to the webinar, and I know that it's going to be very well attended.
And powerful.
Yes.
Thank you. And thanks again for having me on. I really appreciate it. The Daughters of the Whirlwind. Love it.
We love you.
Thank you. Love
We
you.
love you.
Nakapenda. So that was powerful.
Very powerful.
Yeah, it's so much to unpack there, and it brought me back to stories of friends. You know, I have close friends who've shared things with me about things that have happened to them. You know, people in their families. It's the epidemic. It's just, it's really, really crazy. And, you know, it just makes you not want to send your children anywhere.
It does.
Yeah, it causes you to have real lack of trust, and just it gives you anxiety.
Definitely.
We just talked about that, but
Right.
it gives you anxiety on even just a moment. You're like, okay, wait, You know, because a couple of minutes, anything can happen.
It
doesn't take a whole day for sexual assault to happen. So,
and it can happen at any time, any set of circumstances. Yeah. Like it's not a particular context or environment.
So it's a heavy conversation, but I'm definitely appreciate Auntie coming on. And
it had to be had
because and I think it's important too how she brought out men's cases of sexual assault, because it's common that we talk about the women's side of it, because we're women, one. So, but the society also portrays that it doesn't happen to men.
Right. It
does happen to women. Right. And like she said, they make it like, oh, a man is not going to say it because he's supposed to have this demeanor of strength, this demeanor of, no, I can fight this. And, but like she said, if it's a group of people, and men or women, it can happen, so,
and it's a power play. So even if it's not a group, it could be another individual. Perpetrators, can be anyone. With power.
I was going to say we didn't talk about the drug part
so
of
many
it.
nuances.
And that thing of when I was always told, don't ever leave. If you leave a drink, if you turn your back, it's done.
That's it. That's not your drink no more.
I tell all of our children that. I tell them when y'all go out, don't do it.
And again, it doesn't even have to be at the club. Like if we're somewhere anywhere, even if you're at work, if you leave your drink, it's not your drink anymore.
It's definitely not. It belongs to the universe.
Right. Pour it on out. Pour it out.
Right. About to just now, but
pour a libation.
What happened with me? That was he put it in my water and then attempted to sexually assault me, but because my mind was like, what's happening to me?
You were able to fight
it. But
we're so grateful. So grateful.
Trusted a lot.
Yes, we are so grateful.
We just have to be on point.
Aware. Aware. Just raising the awareness and educating ourselves.
Yes.
So yes, I hope folks check out that webinar along with us. We'll all be there.
We'll be in attendance.
Educate yourself, spread awareness. I look forward to the rest of our season as well. The first episode of season 3. We have some really great episodes coming up. And as we said, at the top of the show, the theme for this season is living in the flow. Auntie Wakeela talked about that. And we'll be talking about that, as we go through each one of our upcoming episodes. How to live in the flow.
Yes. Let it flow. So thank you. And you have been listening to the Seeds of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind podcast. Be blessed.
Look for me in the whirlwind.
Peace and love, revolutionaries. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Seeds of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind. To join the family, like, subscribe, and share with who you think should be a part of this beautiful family. Please comment if y'all want us to cover specific topics or have questions. Blessings.